Every spring, thousands of workers arrive from far and wide to get Ontario's farms tilled, trimmed, and planted. That's been disrupted this year by the pandemic. Mary Baxter is our Southwestern Ontario Hub journalist. She's been covering that story on tvo.org. Welcome, Mary Baxter.
Hi, Dan.
All right, before we go into how this pandemic is affecting migrant workers and farmers, let's just take a step back. Can you briefly describe the migrant worker program for people who may not be familiar with it?
Sure. The Seasonal Agriculture Worker Program has been around for a long time. And when I say a long time, I mean actually decades. And it brings workers in from the Caribbean and Mexico each year to help out in farm fields across Canada. In Eastern Canada, so I'm talking actually Ontario and the East Coast provinces, every year about 30,000 workers come in and they'll help with everything from fruit and vegetable production to ginseng production, tobacco production, and even some livestock production.
Now, I'm sure you can see the sun is beaming, the season is starting, so imagine workers are now starting to arrive as well. They're subject, though, to this mandatory 14-day quarantine. How is that affecting workers and farmers?
At this time, of course, there's so much worry out there about the pandemic, and in particular about border crossings right now. In terms of the farmers, they really need the workers. They can't get their crops out basically without these workers. Some of whom have worked for the same farmer for years. They may have spent their whole career there. So it's really important to get them in, but there's challenges in terms of how to ensure that the quarantine takes place for the workers coming in. There's a lot of concerns as well. The program in the past, as many of these programs have, has come under criticism for many different issues. I won't get into those today, with the exception of housing. There's been concern about that, and for some of the workers coming in, there's concerns about how that quarantine period will unfold. Will they be able to get food, because they in some cases are not being allowed off of properties, as well, in all cases with that quarantine going on. Some of them may not even want to come, but they know that they feel the pressure that they have to. In some cases, it's still a bit of a tense period, because in the countries that they're coming from, there's still restrictions perhaps on travel, or it's difficult to
Right.
arrange flights. So there's a lot of challenges and concerns.
So, Mary, who is ultimately responsible for paying them and keeping them in quarantine?
Well, the short answer is the farmers. The government developed a list of expectations for the quarantine period, and have given the farmers the responsibility of making sure that it's observed. And in that list are requirements such as making sure that workers are maintaining their distance. So that would be making sure that beds are 2 meters apart from each other, making sure that places that are shared, such as kitchens and bathrooms, are social distancing is observed, and that things are cleaned. One farmer I spoke to said for him, paying the farmers means about paying them $30 for 30 hours a week each week. He estimates it's going to be about $1,500 for the whole period to do that. Now, the federal government has recently issued funding to farmers to help them out with the costs of these, which actually works out to about $1,500 per worker.
In your article, it's kind of interesting. We kind of look at two different approaches to managing workers and in quarantine, one from the federal government, one from the Norfolk County. In the conversation that you had with your farmer and a number of farmers, they kind of went back on one of the approaches that the Norfolk County had kind of wanted to push forward. Could you mind explaining that a little bit?
Sure. Norfolk and Haldeman Health Unit issued an order in terms of the quarantine standards that went over and above what the federal government was expecting of farmers. The reason why is because just as there's anxiety with both farmers and with workers, there's also anxiety in the community about large number of people coming
Hmm.
in. In Norfolk County alone, it's roughly the seasonal worker population is roughly 5% of the entire population. So they kind of want to keep people in place, and they also want to make sure that these people are being fairly treated. They've required that only 3 workers be housed in a facility during the quarantine period. So even if that facility can contain a lot more workers than that, they've limited the numbers. So that means that farmers have to have other alternatives in which to house workers if they're wanting to bring a number of them in. But then they've got their season they're trying to get underway. They may not be able to do that. So they may have to look at bringing in workers from cities who aren't as experienced. So there's a lot of frustration built around this local solution to trying to keep everyone safe.
I'm curious, it is precarious times. There's a lot of Canadians who are out of work. Why do you think that? Do you think maybe farmers would think maybe we can hire some Canadians instead of getting migrant workers to work in the fields?
They have considered that possibility.
Hmm.
They're a bit resistant to that possibility. One of the key reasons being, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of these workers have worked for the same farm. The seasonal agricultural workers have worked for the same farm for like years and years. They've got a lot of the skills based. And then, if you're trucking people in from cities and stuff like that, there's some farmers say that there's a risk to spreading the virus as well in rural areas where the health system isn't quite as doesn't have as much resources to deal with these types of crises.
Now, very quickly, we have about less than a minute to go. The community is helping fill in the gaps. Can you give us a little insight on that?
Uh, well, in the Norfolk and Haldeman counties example, the local health unit has passed an order. So, along with the restrictions on how many people can stay in one facility, they're asking for a list of workers in each area. They're looking at perhaps introducing some other orders as time goes along, and just depending on what they need to do in order to control that population, keep it in place. In Windsor, Essex, they're also looking at doing inspections, public health.
All right. Thank you so much, Mary Baxter. I know you bring really important stories from Southwestern Ontario to the forefront, especially in this time. Thank you so much again. That's Mary Baxter, our Southwestern Ontario Hub journalist.
Thanks, JN.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.